How's it going, guys? So it's been another 2 months, so I figured I should get to making some videos. So I'm here to do a graphic novel haul for July and August. It's not a lot of books. These 2 months have been pretty thin. Try to make this as quickly and as painless as possible. So let me start off with the big guys here. Here's Jeff DeRose, The Shaolin Cowboy, Star Trek, which is basically the first part of his kind of trilogy that he ended with Who Will Stop the Rain. It's a very nice big edition by Dark Horse. Sadly, Dave Stewart only does a couple of colors. Otherwise, the book is basically colored by these three gentlemen, which you can kind of tell it's not as good as Dave Stewart's colors. But it was nice to see the beginning, kind of the beginning. It's not really the beginning. I don't know where the Shaolin Cowboy has been before this. And I have to say, probably this was one of my favorite parts. I was wondering why Robert Mitchum showed up so much on Who Will Stop the Rain, and Star Trek answered that for me, so that was kind of cool. Moving on, I have Jerome K. Jerome Block, The Paper People. This is the second album in the series by Dodier, and I can't remember the other guys, those guys. But yeah, second album. This is released by Euro Comics, which is from IDW. I have to say, it improved. I really wasn't a fan of the first album. It was very choppy, very slow sometimes, kind of all over the place. This one picked up. It had some good mystery. It was entertaining. If IDW collected maybe 2 albums per trade or something, it might be a better deal. I know if you watch Mr. Earl Grey in one of his year-end videos, it was his #1 adventure series, I think. I don't think I'll keep going with it though, sadly. I think there's like maybe 5 albums out by now or more. The US market is very behind on. Here's another European album. This is Death to the Tsar by Fabian Nuri and who else? This is from Titan. Terry Robin on art. So colored by Claire Champagne. It was pretty interesting. It's not about the Tsar. It's about the characters around him and how it builds up to sort of the downfall of the Tsar, I guess. I think basically the story revolves around his cousin or his uncle. He's another big member of the Tsar family, and that is the actual person that gets assassinated here. But it was pretty good. The art was so-so. I wouldn't say it was my favorite, but the story and the characters were very interesting. I would say if you come across it at a good deal, check it out or check your local library. The author also did, The Death of Stalin, which is a movie now. I don't know. I have no idea. But moving on, I have The Spider King. This is by IDW. Josh Van writer. Illustrated by Simon D'Armani. Interesting art. A pretty interesting story too. It's basically kind of like a Headlopper and what's it called? Orkstein by James Stokoe, or what's his name? Jim Stoke. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. So basically you get Vikings and then some aliens. They come across some alien stuff, and you could tell by the sword thingy. And yeah, it was pretty interesting. At the end here, we get another story drawn by the colorist of the series. So that was kind of interesting. And we actually get, I think this was the what do you call it? Basically like a scripted series, or to help him launch the series. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, this was kind of cool. I mean, if you like Headlopper and stuff like that, I would check out Spider King, the Spider King. And next I have The Wild's End, Journey's End. This is volume 3 by Boom. And this was only collected in trade, so it was never released in singles, sadly. Or I guess at least it was released. And it's been a long time coming. Maybe they were just trying to get some funding for it, or I'm not sure. I'm guessing volume 1 and 2 probably didn't do as good, or I have no idea. Dan Abbott, writer, illustrated, and lettered by ING Colbard. And if you've seen what is it, War of the Worlds, or it's basically that story, I guess, with the invasion of England. And great story. Sad to see it end, but I was happy to see the ending, I guess. So yeah, if you like that kind of fantasy with anamorphic characters, highly recommend Wild's End. I believe you can find the trade for volume 2, but not for volume 1. So I'm not sure how that was collected in the end. Maybe it was never collected in a trade. And then I came across Tom Strong and the Planet of Peril by Peter Hogan and Chris Spruce on art. Never read Tom Strong when it was, what was it by? I think All American Comics, and I think it was created. Tom Strong was created by Alan Moore, right? Yeah, created by Alan Moore and Chris Spruce, which is the artist here. I enjoyed it, not knowing anything of the characters. I mean, it feels like kind of superheroes that would be kind of in the Hellboy universe, you know, more sciencey, less Superman and Batman. I don't know. Like I said, I never read any of the All American comics. I think there was Astro City was part of that. Tom Strong, of course, and I think Promethea was a series by. And of course, they moved over to Vertical, or to DC. So I don't know. That was a pretty cool story. I think I got it for like $6 because they were getting rid of some trades, and I had nothing to read, so I said, why not? Then of course I picked up Old Man Hawkeye and Eye for an Eye. Yes, I got some Marvel. Sadly, I wasn't the biggest fan of this. Ethan Sachs writing, Marco Checchetto on art. I like the art. I mean, the character design is interesting. Some of the page layouts I was not a fan of, but the colors. Let's go back and see. Andres Moss. I was not a fan of the colors. I don't know why it looks like this. It looks very bland, very drab, and yet you get all the special shiny effects of the digital coloring, which I don't know. It doesn't. I guess they try to fit it with the story, but I was expecting different colors. I don't know. And then Venom shows up for some reason. I mean, you got Hawkeye in this post-apocalyptic world. He starts going after, I think it's the Thunderbolts. This only collects, what is it, issues 1 through 6. So I'm hoping it ends at 12. But yeah, the story just wasn't that entertaining. At times there's some pretty cool stuff, but I'm not sure why Venom isn't even in the series, but they threw him in there for some reason. Yeah, I would pass on Old Man Hawkeye, but who knows? You might enjoy it more than I. What do I know about comics? Of course, to end the video, I had to jump on the Valiant bandwagon. I've been avoiding Valiant, but I think I'm going to keep avoiding it. I got Divinity, This is volume 1, of course. I think there's Divinity 2 and Divinity 3. So this is 1 through 4 of Divinity, which is all of Divinity, if that makes sense. By Matt Kent and Trevor Hershon. So it collects 1 through 4, and then there's a bunch of extra stuff, some nice art galleries, and I have to say the story was interesting to a point. If you've seen Oblivion, it kind of gave me that vibe for some reason. There's a bunch of weird stuff going on. I kind of like the narrative, but at times the art, I don't know, the art just doesn't do it for me. And that's basically kind of the problem I have with Valiant. I'm just not the biggest fan of the artist on their books. And if you look at the art gallery here, I mean, the pencils look pretty amazing by Trevor. The ink kind of takes some of the detail out. They have some double pages here with, what do they call them? See, like, once they add the colors, I don't know, you kind of lose some detail in the color, and you got all this nice pencil work. So if he inks his own work, he makes it very dark, and he takes a lot of the detail out of it. And then of course, once you throw on the color, it's gonna hide even more of his detailed work. So I'm guessing it might have been better if they sort of did some other kind of color on the work. It just didn't interest me enough to actually go check out Divinity 2 or 3. And I think the only other thing I've read lately from Valiant was the new Exo series, where he doesn't even have the armor. I think I read like 4 issues of that. But let me know about Divinity 2 and 3 if I should at least check them out. And I'm also curious because kind of a spoiler here, Divinity is the astronaut, right? But there's 3 astronauts. So does that mean 2 and 3 are the other? Is the story of the other 2? Or do they keep going with this first astronaut? Let me know if I spoiled it for everyone. But thank you very much for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. So yeah, check it out. This ends up being a pretty nice collection, doesn't it? Actually, probably should have waited on the second volume, huh? But oh well, those were the days I was picking up singles. Who Will Stop the Rain is kind of small compared to Star Trek. But then I guess, what was it, 4 issues? 4 issues of this. I don't know how many issues this was. There's no chapter breaks. But oh well. The Shaolin Cowboy.